Hello and welcome to this presentation. My name is Dr. Andrew Stuhl, and today I'll be talking about sustaining the Lewisburg community pool, the power of solar. This is a 25-minute presentation in which I'll talk about a campaign to bring solar energy to the Lewisburg community pool that was conducted in the summer of 2017. And that campaign we'll refer to today as the Greening Lewisburg Project. It was a collaboration between myself, Leong, and Martzolff, both students at Bucknell University. And I'm employed at Bucknell University as a professor of environmental studies. This was a partnership with the Buffalo Valley Recreation Authority and a funded project through the Fulbright Canada RBC Eco Leadership Program. And so a word about that program. Fulbright Canada RBC Eco Leadership Program gives small grants to former Fulbright scholars to host an environmental leadership project in their home communities. So I was a Fulbrighter in Canada in the spring of 2016, and after talking with members of the Buffalo Valley Recreation Authority, decided to put an application in for a small grant to lead a summer program around the feasibility of solar energy at the Lewisburg Community Pool. And that program became the Greening Lewisburg Project. I didn't take a salary from this small grant from the Fulbright RBC Eco Leadership Program, and neither did my students. The money was there to bring snacks and refreshments to community meetings and help promote our activities, which we'll describe now. Here's the Lewisburg Community Pool. If you're watching this, you might have visited this place. It's a wonderful area to beat the heat in the summertime. The Lewisburg Community Pool was built in 1955 following a grassroots community effort to find the land and raise the funds for its purchase and conservation. Like the vast amount of pools built in the United States, it was created to make outdoor recreation publicly accessible and have a place to beat the heat in the summertime. And by that measure, it's been a great success. The pool is a popular attraction for Lewisburg residents. On nice summer days, it's common to have around 85 people use the facilities from noon until 8 p.m. And as you know, it's adjacent to the Lewisburg Area Recreation Park, which averages 1,000 people a day on summer weekends and draws patrons not just from Lewisburg or Union County, but a very wide radius. By other measures, the pool is not just an area for safe recreation, but also for positive youth development. According to the National Parks and Recreation Report from 2010, pools and other recreation facilities enhance the lives of our youth. They help decrease healthcare costs related to childhood obesity. They increase the economic contributions of young people to society when they become adults, because when they go to the pool, they can see their peers ahead of them in age as lifeguards or working at the concession stand or working at the front desk. Pools also help youth develop self-confidence, optimism, and initiative, and of course, they provide them a survival skill in learning how to swim. So pools are fun, they're safe, and they're a great community resource. And like with other such assets, the Lewisburg pool has to be managed carefully in order to sustain it. Unfortunately, we're seeing in the United States a rash of closings of community pools. According to Mick Nelson, the Facilities Development for USA Swimming, Facilities Development Director for USA Swimming, more than 2,000 pools throughout the United States have closed since January 2009. Now, why have they closed? Cost is the number one reason. Pools are expensive to run. Lifeguards, insurance, renovations all cost money. And since the Great Recession, there have been tightening budgets on the authorities that manage pools across the United States. Many parks and recreation authorities gather some of their operating budgets from municipal and local taxes, and when these have shrunk due to the changing property values and changing tax structures at the municipal level, pools have often been the low-hanging fruit, or the first kind of recreation facility to be cut from the operating budgets. That's mostly because pools are expensive. They're only open 3 months out of the year, and it's difficult to find money to run the pools. We see these national trends in the central Susquehanna Valley region as well. Watsontown closed its pool in 2008 after operating the facility for several years at a deficit of $75,000. Williamsport featured 3 community pools in the year 2011, and now 2 of those have closed, Williamsport East in 2014 and South Williamsport in 2015. The photo here shows Montoursville Pool in 2010. It was closed, and as you can see, started to be filled in with dirt in that year. Not pictured and not shown here is the Milton Pool, which avoided the fate of closing by partnering with the YMCA. So we have a number of pools in our region that are struggling to run and stay open, and some pools that are finding solutions. What happens without our public pools? Well, as you can imagine, as the picture shows here, once they're filled in, they become a space for green space. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Adding green space, it can be a good thing, but it's certainly not the same kind of outdoor recreation that a pool provides. Another outcome is that people will find another place to swim. Maybe they'll shift to private pools. Of course, having a pool in your backyard or going to a private club pool incurs costs that aren't associated with public pools. It's much more expensive to have a private pool, and not everyone can afford that. And in fact, the shift to private pools in somewhat explains the struggles that community pools have today. More and more people have pools in their backyard. In 1950, roughly 2,500 American families had pools in their backyard. By 2000, that number had ballooned to 4 million. And so the kind of pool of people who would go to the public pool has dwindled over the last 2 or 3 generations. What else happens without public pools? Well, one thing you might consider is that people will risk the river and head over to the Susquehanna to go for a swim. This isn't a bad thing, but it can incur some other risks. And unfortunately, we have a case from 2009 of the worst possible outcome of going in the river. 2 children aged 8 and 11 drowned in August of that year while playing in the Susquehanna just off of St. Louis Street in Lewisburg. The river, of course, does not have lifeguards. The current and debris in the river are unknowns that you don't find in a community pool. And so, while it can be generally safe, there are cases of injury and accident in our river that we want to avoid. Finally, according to recent studies, we should expect that without public pools in our town, we would see a rise in delinquency. According to the Chicago School of Civics and Philanthropy, neighborhoods that have community pools have a 28% reduction in youth delinquency compared to neighborhoods that do not have community pools or similar recreation facilities. And again, this is the flip side of the positives of youth development at our pools: reduced rates of obesity, positive youth confidence and role modeling. Without those abilities to see the youth in that way and recreate, students and youth can get into trouble more easily. Fortunately, the situation in Lewisburg is not as dire as it has been in other places in our region or in our country. The BVRA, the Buffalo Valley Recreation Authority, their annual budget is around $890,000, and about $150,000 of that comes from local taxes. The difference is raised through fundraising, programming fees, and membership fees. To run the pool, it costs about $109,000 a year, and the last renovation was in 2004, meaning that BVRA is not currently investing in the major infrastructure of the pool, though that's something that we might expect in the next 10 to 15 years. The largest cost for running the pool is electricity, utilities, $8,000 a year. And most of this electric use comes from filtering the water in the pool and keeping it clean and safe. Once the pool opens in May, the pumps that circulate the water and filter it and keep it safe for our swimmers need to be running constantly, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And those pumps running on electricity run the utility bill through the roof. There are other electrical uses at the pool site. There are some lights inside the bathhouse. There's a function for warming the water in the showers at the bathhouse. There are stadium lights on the pool deck. And the breaker box that measures the electrical use also includes the lights in the Lewisburg Area Park. But by far, of the largest single expense in electricity, the largest contributor are the circulation pumps at the pool. So, given the benefits of the pool, the cost of its operation, and the potential consequences of closing, what can we do to sustain the Lewisburg Community Pool? This is where our project, the Greening Lewisburg Project, comes in with an answer. We would like to install solar panels at the Lewisburg Community Pool to provide electricity for the pool and therefore cut the largest single expense item in their operating budget. In the long term, switching to renewable energy in the form of solar panels will have four major outcomes. Not only will it reduce the utilities costs, as aforementioned, but it will also hopefully generate enough power to expand the possibilities for using the pool. One of the common complaints about the pool is that it's cold, both in the early part of the season in May and every day in the early part of the day. And so there are certain populations of people, like the very young, toddlers and babies, and older folks and the elderly, who would have greater comfort if the pool were heated. And perhaps by generating some additional electricity, we can do that and expand programming at the pool. Of course, switching to solar panels will cut emissions from greenhouse gases considerably, given that the current source of electricity at the pool is based on gas and coal. We're also hoping to raise awareness through the installation of solar panels about all of the ways renewable energy can benefit our community and the community pool. And we do this through signs placed at the pool nearby the solar installations. So how are we going to achieve these outcomes and how are we going to get solar panels at the Lewisburg pool? The Greening Lewisburg project focused on 3 steps: conducting feasibility studies of the solar panels at the pool. So what kind of systems can we create? How much will they cost? How much energy will they generate? Second, we did these feasibility studies with an eye to preparing a grant to the state of Pennsylvania's Department of Conservation and Natural Resources so that BVRA could offset its costs of purchasing and installing the equipment. And third, we wanted to design educational materials to be placed at the park, as we mentioned, to educate folks about the benefits of solar power. So in the remainder of this presentation, we're going to look at these 3 things with an emphasis on number 1, conducting feasibility studies. Here's an aerial view of the pool site adjacent to the Lewisburg Area Park. And you can see here, this is the bathhouse, and here's the pool, and the deep end, and the diving board. In the summer of 2017, students Megan Martzolff and Leong and myself worked on several feasibility studies of solar power at this site. And really it was Megan's lead following her training in the Institute for Leadership in Sustainable Technology. And what Megan did with Reed and myself is go out to this bathhouse site and many other sites in the pool and measure the amount of solar access, or how much solar radiation the bathhouse and other structures would receive over a given year. Then we took that value and through several calculators, both online and in the literature, found the possibilities for solar systems. There are certain constraints posed by the site itself. There might be shade from certain trees. The roof itself might have vents on it that prevent panels from being laid down. Megan and Reed collected all this information and developed a comprehensive report for the Buffalo Valley Recreation Authority to determine how much energy they could produce. And here's one thing that they figured out. The bathhouse is a great place for solar energy given the existing structures at the pool site. Megan found that one of the most efficient modules for this site would be a SILFAB 345 watt module. And given the size and constraints on the roof itself, 44 of these modules could be placed on the west side and 48 could be placed on the east side. Now the cost of doing so, given the cost of purchase, the cost of wiring these modules, clipping them to the roof structure, and so on, would come out to be about $13,600 on the west side and $14,800 on the east side. These figures include a 30% tax subsidy, which is currently offered by the U.S. government. Now, with that many modules laying on the roof and collecting the solar energy day in and day out, how much electricity could you produce? On the west side of the roof, with the 44 modules, you would produce just over 15,000 watts. And on the east side, you would produce 16,500 watts, owing to having 4 more modules. This equates to just over 31,700 watts, which is just over one-third of the total annual usage for Buffalo Valley Recreation Authority at its pool site. So it's not possible for the BVRA to use solar energy at this structure with this system to offset all of its electrical uses at the pool. But it is possible to cut their costs of electricity at the pool considerably and save that money and redirect it towards hiring new staff, performing new training, maintenance, or upgrades at the pool site. Here's another visual that breaks down that cost and benefit analysis for the system that would be placed on the bathhouse with modules on both sides of the roof. You see in the cost minus tax row, after the subsidy, the cost of installing and purchasing the modules would be about $28,500. Every year, with the electricity produced by those solar panels, BVRA would save $3,491. But there are also an additional $100 of REC benefits for investing in solar energy provided through the state of Pennsylvania. So the total savings would be over $3,600. And if the BVRA had to foot the entire bill, $28,552.20, it would be able to pay back its investment through the money saved in just under 8 years. We did other feasibility studies as well in the adjacent Hunt Park location, which is pictured here. Hunt Park is a parcel of land owned by the borough of Lewisburg but managed by the Buffalo Valley Recreation Authority that's just across from the new giant grocery store and also across from the Warming House, dog park, ice rink, and kickball area. BVRA wondered what kind of energy could we produce at this site given it's much larger than the bathhouse and can therefore create much more solar energy. We ran two kinds of studies, one that looked at a system that could produce all of BVRA's energy needs, and also a system that was limited just by this expending $50,000. So in other words, what kind of system can we make with $50,000? And here are the cost-benefit analyses for those two systems at Hunt Park. This system would be obviously much larger than the bathhouse system, and in this iteration we're looking at a system that could meet all of BVRA's electrical needs at the Lewisburg Community Pool. After subsidy, it would cost over $114,000, but every year it would save BVRA $11,700. So there'd be a credit, given that they don't use $11,000 in energy in a year. And they would have to pay this back over the course of about 10 years if they had to spend all of the money up front by themselves with no grant money or investment from third parties. For a system that was limited just by $50,000 to $60,000, BVRA could create about $5,873 a year in savings, which is again not all of their energy needs, but is much more than the system at the bathhouse. And so again, this iteration of the feasibility study looked at the question, what if BVRA could only spend $60,000 or $50,000? What kind of energy could we produce at Hunt Park? Moving now to the second step that Greening Lewisburg project was taking, we're looking now at the grant application that BVRA can apply for to offset the cost of purchasing and installing the solar equipment. We're looking at the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, or DCNR's website, and specifically their Community Conservation Partnerships Program, or C2P2. Now this grant is unique in that it focuses on state recreational facilities and community level and offers money to the management authorities to help revitalize facilities. We see solar panels as a form of revitalization because they will create energy and create value that BVRA can redirect towards maintenance, upgrades, and improvements at its Lewisburg Community Pool. The interesting thing about this grant is that the DCNR offers both a pool of money and also a matching program. So applicants are eligible to receive up to $20,000 for their grant from the DCNR, and then from a matching program there's another $20,000 available. So in other words, if BVRA would like to apply for $20,000 and then raise $20,000, they can get from DCNR $40,000. First from the C2P2 program, its budget, and second from the matching program. The next thing the Greening Lewisburg project is going to do is design education materials to be placed nearby the bathhouse or wherever solar panels may go. And these education materials would help area youth and residents and users of the facilities understand why the panels are there and what benefits they create. One of these, of course, is an environmental benefit. Just at the bathhouse site, by switching from non-renewable energy to renewable energy through the modules placed on the east and west side of the roof. The BVRA can shift more than 14 metric tons of carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. Now that's a large number, but what does it really equate to? Using the United States Environmental Protection Agency's online equivalency calculator, we can see that that figure, 14 to 17 metric tons of carbon dioxide, is equivalent to thousands of miles driven in a passenger vehicle, thousands of pounds of coal burned, hundreds of lamps switched to LEDs, dozens of barrels of oil, and are sequestering carbon every year. So it's obviously a great benefit for clean air and a clean environment. One of the things we'll want to reach out to community members in the future is on where should we put these signs. Some great places on the bathhouse structure itself. We also think about pedestal signs. In closing, we see the Greening Lewisburg project as a great way to sustain the community pool. Sustainability is a triple win. It's great for people and our community. It's great for the financial security of the BVRA and the efficient spending of taxpayer money. And it's great for ecology and the environment, clean air, healthy ecosystem, and modeling renewable energy. Hopefully, with community support, we'll be competitive at the grant level, bring the solar panels here, and show to other communities and municipal entities that solar energy is great for everybody. Now, what can you do? There are many ways you can help. The first is to sign in and sign up to show your support for solar power at the Lewisburg Community Pool. As part of our application to the DCNR, the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, we'd like to show some measure of community support behind this project. Your signature and contact information allows us to demonstrate that. On the next screen, we'll show you our Facebook page where you can go and click like and also sign up on a sign-in form to share your information with us. As a disclaimer, we'll never share your contact information with anyone else, and we'll only share your contact information with DCNR as it pertains to demonstrating support, not to allow them access to your databases or to place them on your databases. Second thing you can do is to volunteer. One of the particularities of the grant we're applying for is that the matching program for DCNR recognizes non-cash values like your time and expertise. So if you want to help out installing solar panels, or if you have a particular expertise in geotechnical surveys or site management, those things can count as money through DCNR's matching program and be exchanged for real dollars. So let us know if you want to volunteer and how you can help when you sign in and sign up. And finally, you can consider a cash donation to this project so that, again, it can be matched by DCNR if BVRA wins its grant for solar power. Thank you so much for listening to this presentation. We are Greening Lewisburg, a campaign to bring solar energy to the Lewisburg Community Pool. My name is Dr. Andrew Stuhl, Professor of Environmental Studies, and with Megan Martzolff and Leong, we're really happy to be working on this project. You can follow us on Facebook at Greening Lewisburg. Go there, check out some updates, pictures, parts of our feasibility study that we didn't cover today, and click like and share it with your friends. If you have questions or concerns, suggestions, you can also email me at ats011@bucknell.edu.